I thank the Chairman for the recognition. Secretary, thank you for being here today, and thank you for your generous time you're spending with the committee. I just want to say at the outset, I think solar energy has a place in the future of this nation's armamentarium of energy sources. But I must say what's happened with Solyndra in the hearing we're having today kind of underscores it. I think it has set back the prospect for perhaps some time. Let me ask you a question. You said earlier it's regrettable what happened and that some of these were going to fail. And in fact, the first 2 out of 3 between Solyndra and Beacon, the first 2 out of the 3 projects that you approved have failed. The President has said it could be as high as a 50% failure rate. So what is an acceptable failure risk for this type of project?
I would say that given the total credit subsidy that was appropriated and set aside, the $10 billion, of which included $2.4 billion for the 1705 program, certainly if we approached something on that number, that would be very bad. I personally don't think we're going to get anywhere close. And if you take the loan program in its total, not only 1705, but the ATVM loan program, it would...
Yeah, let me stop you there for a second because my time is going to be very limited. They won't let me go over like others. Well, you watch.
Thank you for recognizing that.
But here's the deal. I mean, the confluence of the loan guarantees coupled with the rapid injection of dollars from the stimulus bill has really led, in my opinion, to some touchy decisions being made. And it has led you, as the Secretary of the Department of Energy, to behave like a venture capitalist. But you're the Secretary of Energy. You hold the nation's nuclear secrets. You maintain the nation's nuclear arsenal. You're not supposed to be a venture capitalist who takes risk. Is that correct?
First, the loan program is not a venture capital. It's actually for something beyond the initial stages of investment. And the loan program, as set up by Congress, said, here's the money, here's appropriate funds to cover for losses.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, with all due respect, you are, I mean, look, I was in private business. I understand what it's like to take a risk. I understand what it's like to fail. But you're the Secretary of Energy. You earn almost $200,000 a year. If you approve a program that fails, at the end of the day, you go home and you're still earning $200,000 a year. None of your assets are attached. Nothing of yours personally is put at risk because these are taxpayer dollars that were put on the line. Do you understand how people are uncomfortable with this concept of the Department of Energy behaving as a venture capitalist?
Well, as I said before, this loan program was set up by Congress, and Congress appropriated in the 1705 program $2.4 billion to account for the losses.
As someone who was sitting in this committee in 2005 when the loan guarantee program was approved, I don't think any of us could have foreseen what was around the corner with the rapid injection of cash from the stimulus bill. Most of us on this side of the dais oppose that. Let me ask you some questions about subordination, because my colleague from Texas, Mr. Green, asked some. And you said it was a difficult choice to make about the subordination, correct?
It was difficult because by that time we knew that the company was in trouble, and we, again, were trying to maximize taxpayer recovery. And so all our actions were focused on maximizing taxpayer recovery.
And, you know, this almost seems like a tortured legal opinion that we've come to, but do you see how some people could look at this and say, this was a violation of the law, 1702, that has been much talked about this morning, where taxpayer obligations were not allowed to be subordinated. And I realize there was again, what I would describe as a tortured legal opinion, but do you understand the average person looking at this says, that's not right, that shouldn't have happened?
Again, I had the opinion of a general counsel I trusted. I had opinion of many others that went through a rigorous review process within the Department of Energy.
Correct, and I don't dispute that. I'll stipulate that. But with all due respect, do you see how regular people would look at this and say, I don't think that's right? Now, I will be the first to admit that in the Energy Policy Act of 2005, perhaps, so an oversight certainly could be regarded as a mistake. There's no penalty, civil or criminal, no penalty for violation of that. But do you feel, and again, at the end of the day, you're still earning your salary, whether things work out or not, but do you feel that you owe people an apology for having subordinated the taxpayer dollar to what now turns out to be a very risky venture?
I think certainly it was very regrettable what happened to Solyndra, but I go back and say that when the market was falling out, the prices were falling out, we were focused on trying to recover as much of the taxpayer dollars as possible under those conditions.
One last thing. Again, in my mind, this was technically a violation of the law, although there is no penalty. Have you discussed with your boss whether or not you should continue in your position having violated the spirit of the Energy Policy Act of 2005?
Have I discussed with my boss that? No.
Is he
No.
comfortable, do you think, with you continuing your position
I
when there
believe
was a
so.
violation of law, even though there's no penalty?
We believe there was no violation of the law.
Again, that's a fairly tortured legal explanation that has been provided to this committee. I think the language is straightforward. Mr. Green, a Democrat, was very uncomfortable about the subordination aspect. I remain very uncomfortable. And I got to tell you, I haven't even seen a poll done on this, but I think broadly across the country, people understand that this was not right.